Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. That's a song called The Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five from their 1982 album, The Message. And the song is also called The Message. Joe, how you doing today? You chose this song, so talk about it.
I'm doing well, Shawnee. It's Friday. It's a little nippy out, but you know what the hell? It's February. It's about time we got a little winter weather around here. I picked this song because I noticed that, like I say this all the time, and I mean it, that music-wise, movie-wise, arts-wise, culture-wise, it's good to be diverse, right? And I hit just about every genre that I could think of, even like the Irish folklore and so forth. And then I hit rock. I told you I live in rock and roll and the rhythm and blues and country music and so forth. One of my passions from way back has been hip hop, or to back that up a little bit, rap, honest to God rap. And to me, I lived it. I mean, this was the song The Message won, because they did another one a couple years later. It was pretty good as well. But this song, The Message Won by Grandmaster Flash, was the unofficial opening, the beginning to what people call today hip hop, rap, whatever you want to call it, that genre. Now, a couple years before that, in 1979, a group called Sugar Hill, they did a song called Rapper's Delight. And some of the people, rookies and people that aren't really familiar, think that's where it started. It really didn't, because Rapper's Delight, it was a cute little song. But what Sugar Hill did, Sugar Hill was a good group now, but one of the things they did is they sampled a song by a group called Chic. Okay, CHIC. They sampled a song they did called Good Times. These are the good times. And they just took that beat. They took that beat, Sugar Hill did, and they superimposed their own words into that beat. So if you're sampling a song, which is cool, but if you're sampling a song, it can't be the unofficial beginning to anything, okay? It was cute, it was fun, but hip hop didn't start till 3 years later, as far as I'm concerned. Rap didn't start till 3 years later, as far as I'm concerned. Grandmaster Flash, The Message won. And I'm going to tell you, it was theirs, and it was 6.5 minutes long. And it was not only hip, the beat and the rhythm and the pace, the words were really, really important. So, socioeconomic, differences and the way of the world and real problems and real life. And they just spit this thing beautifully. And 9 people out of 10 that know what the hell they're talking about will tell you that this song really started off what we know today. Now, hip hop has made a lot of turns along the way, okay? But this is what started it all off. And like I said, it's the first time I went to hip hop, because I've been all over the place with the rock and with country and with hitting everything. I wanted to make sure I come back home to hip hop. And what better way to do it than, the anthem itself, the beginning.
Yeah.
So
Did you
that's why I
know
did it.
that? Did you know that Grandmaster Flash's real name is Joseph?
I did not know that, but thank you.
And he was born on January 1st, 1958. So 1/1/58. I say 1/1 because he was number one in hip hop, in the really genesis of hip hop. He was the very beginning of hip hop. So the first day of the year he was born on, it was just kind of poetic, when life imitates art type of thing.
Yes.
If you look at that, first of 1/1, that's when he was born. And he was, like you said, he was the genesis of hip hop, really, that song, and that, he really got it going.
Yeah. And, there's that part of it. And then the lyrics, sometimes you and I both do this. We'll do the lyrics in context of the whole song. And then we'll zoom in and we'll do the lyrics in isolation, because this thing, don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. I really, really like that, as far as from a mental health standpoint. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. I think it's important right there from a mental health standpoint is we all feel sometimes like we're in a tank and the water's rising and it's rising and we just can't take anymore. And we all do. I mean, if you're living and breathing today, we all do. We don't necessarily have the problems to the magnitude that this gentleman did in the song, but we all have, the rent's due or this is happening and you got a bill here that you didn't expect or whatever the case may be, a sick relative. And life is just starting to add up. What we have to do is find a way in moments like that to use some coping mechanisms and, feel your stress coming on and say, okay, you know what I got to do? I just got to grab the sneakers and go out for a jog, or what calms me down and takes me out of this. If I could just get out of here right now and go for a walk, or this counting to 10 thing, it's not a joke. If you take time and just sit by yourself or just get away and talk a little bit to yourself, take a couple moments, coping mechanism to give yourself a little bit of a break. It's important too. So the lyrics in context of the song and the lyrics in context, in isolation. So that's why I did it as well.
And did you know that Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2007. They're the first hip hop group ever to be inducted.
That I was aware of. That one I was aware of, and I was pleased to hear that too. Because really, what constitutes rock and roll anymore? We're not sure. It all blurs together. So
yeah, and just some fun things that I'm reading. The message was one of 50 recordings chosen by the Library of Congress to be added to the National Recording Registry. And Rolling Stone ranked the message number 51 on a list of 500 greatest songs. So that's, good song, good choice, man.
Thank you. And one more thing I want to add to it. I just listened to it again recently because I chose this. And at the very end of it, and it's just pertinent because of some of the headlines today, at the very end of that song, if it's the uncut version, it's not profanity, but you're going to hear is a bunch of guys getting together on the street corner. And this is at the very end of the song. Hey, what's going on? Where you headed tonight? Are we going over here? We're going over there. And all of a sudden a police car rolls up. And, you hear these kids talking. I say kids, 19, the early 20s or whatever. And it's like, the cop rolls up and says, so what are you doing over here? What are you doing? He says, wait a minute, officer, what's going on? What's the problem? And the officer's like, you're the problem. Get in the car. Get in the goddamn car. Get in the car. And it's like, whoa. And it was the implication was these cats are just kind of hanging out and doing nothing and all this stuff. And I thought to myself, this was in 1982. And how pertinent those lyrics of that sentiment is, even as some of the headlines we just saw. Now, again, most cops, like most priests, are in this kind of let's not wreck 98% of them for the misdoings of 2%. But it's the implication that the cops were a little too strong with these guys, a little unnecessarily violent and so forth and so on. But at the very end of the message, it's there. And I just thought to myself, it's been over 40 years and not much has changed. So we got to work on that too. It's just something I forgot all about that ending. So if you listen closely to the ending, you're going to hear that dialogue. So that's all.
Good choice. And I guess we'll talk about Black History Month because, it's a good segue because obviously Grandmaster Flash is a African-American. It's Black History Month, which is February every year. Mm-hmm. It's the annual observance. It originated in the United States, first received its official recognition from governments in the United States and Canada, and it's been recently observed even in Ireland and the UK. But actually, just reading a little bit about it, it was the precursor was created in 1926 in the US when a historian named Carter Woodson, he said then the second week of February would be Negro History Week. He chose that second week of February because it coincided with the birthday of Abraham Lincoln. He was born on February 12th. Mm-hmm. And Frederick Douglass, who we'll talk about, was born on February 14th. Yep. So, the Black community had been celebrating both their birthdays since the late 19th century. So it's a lot of people don't take it seriously. Oh, it's Black History Month. I have to be extra nice. No, it's not about just being extra nice to Black people and giving them their month because you feel bad. That's not what it's about. Right. It's about celebrating people who have dealt with tons of adversity. they weren't even considered citizens. At one point, they were 2/3 of a person. They were considered 2/3 of a person or something like that. They couldn't even vote to the 60s. They were literal property of slave owners. And Joe, if you have anything to say before, we're going to talk about Frederick Douglass for a second here. But yeah, if you have any comments about Black History Month, you're welcome. The floor is yours.
I think it's more than appropriate that we take time out to acknowledge that, and history being a big part of it, the history of their struggle throughout. And it's sometimes it escapes you sometimes just how arduous a road these folks have had throughout our history. And if you stop every once in a while, you watch a movie like 12 Years a Slave, or watch another movie here or there, or really look into it, you really get a glimpse as to, and it makes you think, like, my God, what were we doing as a country? What in the world? How could we even imagine treating people this way? And it really does. It makes you feel bad, and it makes you feel good that we're finally getting it together. But the least we could do is acknowledge their history for a month. I think it's very important. So I
Absolutely.
like it. Yeah.
So one of the main men and one of the key abolitionists, an abolitionist was a person fighting against slavery, and one of the main ones ever, Frederick Douglass.
Oh, great one.
He's kind of a legend. To put it mildly.
Yeah.
He was born as a slave. The minute he was born in this world, he was born into slavery in Maryland around 1818. He taught himself to read as a kid. He used scraps of reading material he found with the help of some of the white children he came into contact with in his neighborhood. He's a very self-motivated, self-sufficient person. A little bit different from, because back in those days, a lot of Black people probably didn't think they had much freedom or choices to do anything, let alone like read. And he was already, he's like, I'm going to teach myself how to read. I'm sure a lot, you hear tons of stories about that. A lot of Black people want to read. They're like, I want to understand, what they're talking about and what they're reading. Why can't I read too? So even while slavery was going on, they were focused on reading, which is definitely a good thing.
Oh, Sean, there were, not to interrupt you, but to talk about oppression, if slave masters even thought that the slaves were trying to learn how to read, they'd whip them. And I mean, whip them, because it wasn't like they tried to discourage them. They forbade them to.
Yeah, that's what
read.
I'm saying. I've heard stories like that.
Nasty. Yeah.
It was almost like a form of, it was almost like a form of rebelling just to like, want to read, which is kind of crazy to think about it.
Yep.
So, I mean, Douglass is pretty important in the Black history movement. He escaped from slavery, basically. He wasn't a slave at the end of his life. He lived a long life, and was and just to this day, he's viewed as a hero. He's pretty important.
He was, he was acknowledged by Abraham Lincoln. He was welcomed in the warehouse. He was welcomed in the White House quite often, and he would go in there and speak with Abraham Lincoln quite often. So he was highly regarded and highly acknowledged, at the time. So that's something else that a lot of people don't know about.
He thought about joining a white Methodist church, but he found out that it was segregated, so he didn't join that church. But he wrote 3 autobiographies, all about abolition, all about getting rid of slavery. Pretty much, he was always preaching getting rid of slavery. He was kind of like the Martin Luther King of his day. When I think about it, he was very influential. And it's interesting. He actually spent 2 years traveling Great Britain, speaking about the abolitionist cause. And some people told him to settle in England because they said his fame made it risky for him to return to the United States, because apparently federal law in the U.S. gave the slave master the right to seize him. But 2 of his English friends raised about $700 and they bought his freedom. And at the age of 28, he became a free man. So, the first 28 years of his life, he was pretty much a slave,
Yeah.
And, but even when he was a slave, I'm pretty sure he wrote a couple of his books while he was a slave. he was also one cool thing about him, he was active in the women's suffrage movement. Because women didn't have right to vote. So in 1848, he was the only African American to attend the first women's rights convention in Seneca Falls. He was also nominated for vice president of the United States in 1872. I think he was the first African American to be nominated to run for vice president.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's a pretty important guy. I mean, I wish I could say more. I wish I was an expert in Frederick Douglass. I learned all about him in school.
No, I think we said, I mean, we could go on for days about him, but I mean, I can't think of a better, more appropriate way to start out, Black History Month than to talk about, because it pretty much, he was, very instrumental, with emancipation and all that kind of stuff. I can't think of a better place to start or a better person to start with than him. So it's an excellent choice, Sean. Excellent.
Cool. So yeah, Black History Month, Frederick Douglass, good guy to know about. At least to know a little bit about him. It can't be a bad thing,
Yes, sir.
So we started off the show a little bit serious, but we're going to be a little bit lighthearted now. Joe, do you ever shop wholesale? Do you ever go to like Costco or Sam's Club or BJ's?
No, I have family members that do. I just don't. It's not my thing.
Okay, because I went to BJ's yesterday, and it's tough to go in those places and like not want to buy everything because you're like, oh my God, this is a great deal. This is a great deal. But the problem is everything's in bulk.
That's the whole thing. Yeah.
It's like everything's in bulk. And you're like, I'll just give you an example. I saved a lot of money on Kraft American cheese. I usually buy 32 slices at a time from Walmart, and it costs like $8. I got 96 slices of American cheese for like $10.
Yeah. It just reminds me of that Seinfeld where Kramer went and he bought like 22 cans of this beefarino and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. It was just funny. It reminds me.
I thought of you because I got a good deal on hard-boiled eggs. Eggs are expensive now because there's like an egg shortage, but I got Eggland's Best hard-boiled eggs. They're already cooked and peeled. You get 12 of them for $5. So I think I was paying at the supermarket. I think I've been paying for like 6 eggs. I think a little over $3. So I didn't save that much on those, but these are Eggland's Best. So apparently, the fact that you hyped them up, I was all excited. Oh my God, they have Eggland's Best, like hard-boiled, so.
Well, Eggland's Best that's what I like. It's a good brand. It's an excellent brand. Oh, come on, stop it. I'm just saying it's a good, that's what I buy. That's what I buy. I love them. Jumbo size.
Then I went a little bit crazy buying like huge bags of like munchies and chips. I got those Snyder's pretzel, the pretzel pieces, the honey mustard and onion ones.
Yes, sir.
Those are addicting, but those have a ton of calories. Like you could have like a couple handfuls of those and you could already be over 200 calories. Like you got to be careful with those.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I got like, every Pirate's Booty. Pirate's Booty is pretty good. I got that. I got a big bag of that.
No idea what you're talking about.
Then I got this Indiana Popcorn Company kettle corn. It's
I like
sweet
that.
And salty popcorn. Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I walked out of there. I walked in like thinking I was going to like spend, I had a little list and I clipped some coupons. And next thing you know, I walk out and I spent about $200. It's like,
as long as the stuff doesn't go to waste, dude, that's all.
But I also bought like shampoo. Like I buy like, certain type of shampoo. They had it on sale. So I'm pretty set on shampoo and conditioner for at least a year. So I'm good on that.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. And as far as recent movies that I saw since last show, I saw a movie called Alice Darling. Anna Kendrick's in it. Honestly, I didn't really think. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people like her. Like, do you want to hear a funny story? When I went to the Final Four in 2018 to see Villanova in San Antonio, we went to the finals versus Michigan, and one of my friends I was with had a sign that said something about Anna Kendrick, and I'm thinking to myself, why did you choose Anna Kendrick? But you just said you loved her too. There seems to be a lot of guys who really like Anna Kendrick. I don't get it. I'm not really I don't find her like, to me, she's not my type. I have certain types with females, but she's like not my type at all. But a lot of guys dig her.
She's one of those funny girls that at certain times you look and it's like, and then other times it's like, oh my goodness. I mean, she's just really different. And I just, I'd like her. But
Anyway,
she is, I agree with you. She is, it's a weird thing. Sometimes she looks, a lot better than other times, but I guess the same could be said for a lot of, but she's neat.
Just speaking of her about an actress, she's a good actress, and I'm sure we're going to do her one episode.
Right.
But this particular movie I didn't like it. It was just boring. It was slow. I give it about a 5.2 out of 10 because I like thrillers. The whole thing was she had an abusive boyfriend.
Oh, I saw clips for this. Go ahead.
She was going on a trip with her friends, and like her boyfriend kept texting her and stuff, and she was trying to say I don't want to give away the whole movie, but I love thrillers where there's like a crazy stalker or a boyfriend and like crazy stuff happens, right? They're like doing all sorts of crazy stuff. This movie had like nothing crazy that happened. It was just like, what's going to happen here? What's going on? I know
this was psychological abuse, right?
This one was all about psychological abuse, and I know a ton of girls and even guys go through this. I know it exists. However, when you're writing a movie, you want it to be exciting. When you're calling it a thriller, you want there to be more of a buildup and more of a climax. This really didn't have it. You understood the vibe. The vibe was that the guy's a psychological abuser, but they never like showed exactly like how far he took his psychological abuse. They just showed her ripping out her hair. A lot of times she was ripping out her hair. She was like, that was one of her coping mechanisms for dealing with this guy. But it just didn't, it was just an average movie that could have been a lot more. It just could have been I always think about that. The movies, they have such a good premise and it could be exciting. There's a lot of potential. It could have been a lot more. That's all I'll say. I didn't think Anna Kendrick did a bad job as far as her, acting in the movie. I thought she did an okay job and she above average, but just the movie overall wasn't that good to me. So that was what I saw recently. Alice Darling. But how about this weather, man? It's been particularly cold. Are you hoping for snow? Because I gotta be honest with you, I'm content with not having any snow the rest of the winter.
No, I'm disappointed. Look, it is cold, but you know what? Doggone it, it's February, and I told you this. I wouldn't want it all winter long, but I'd like at least some of the winter to be a good solid cold like this, where you come in and you shake off the cold and you sink into a warm chair. I like it this time of year, and I'm just disappointed with the last couple of winters that we don't have snow anymore around here. We don't get it anymore. I mean, you could at least count on at least one, probably two good snowstorms every winter. And I mean good snowstorms by about a foot, give or take. You don't get that anymore. It's ridiculous. I mean, they could almost advertise now for the Delaware Valley for people who are thinking of moving here. We could almost put that in the Chamber of Commerce or something. It doesn't snow. I mean, because it really, really doesn't. It's ridiculous. And I don't think we're going to get any this year because it's already February. And the sun angle, and everything else is like, I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we get 2 feet next week, but I'm disappointed in that. But
here's the thing, though. I really don't want the 2 feet of snow because driving around in snow sucks. Because I go to the gym every day. I want to still be able to go to the gym. I'm not in school anymore. Snow days don't really matter to me because I rely on going to work. I have to go to work to get paid. So if there's snow days, they're not going to pay me, and if I can't get to work, so. Honestly, I'm hoping from a financial standpoint that, I can just get to work and get to the gym. And, I think about like the kids and how they're able to have the snow days and, build the igloos and the snowmen and stuff. And for them, it's cool. So if it does snow, I'm like, oh, at least the kids get off from school and they're having all these childhood memories. But from an adult standpoint, I'm like, please, no snow,
A lot of places will pay you for the day if they have to shut, I don't know. It depends on what.
Not my place. My place where I work.
Whatever. I don't want to see you lose any money, certainly, Sean, but I would like to see maybe on your day off, I'd like it to snow for about a foot and a half. How's that?
Yeah, as long as we plow it, I can get there the next day, but I digress. I'm off on a tangent. I want to talk a little bit about a new show I'm watching. It's called Shrinking. It's on Apple TV.
I'm gonna watch that. Yeah.
I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Jason Segel.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. I love him from his rom-coms. Like one of my funniest movies I've seen ever is called Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I love that movie.
Yeah.
But he's in it. Harrison Ford's in it. So it has the pedigree. I'm really enjoying it so far. Apple TV is at a next level. Like they're on HBO level with their shows. They're really good. They're putting out high quality content.
Yeah.
They pay a lot. They pay a premium to have these big name actors who are supposed to be like movie stars, but they're
Hmm.
willing to do like these limited series. So I don't even know if this, I'm hoping this is more than a limited series. I'm hoping it's more, but I'm enjoying it so far. I think there's been 3 episodes released so far. I got to catch up. I got to watch the next one. I've only watched the first two, but it's basically about a shrink. He's grieving because his wife died, and he starts ignoring all his training that he learned when he's a therapist, and he starts telling them exactly what he wants his clients to do, without really thinking about what the book would say, what the
Right.
therapist's handbook would say.
Right. Right.
And it's just, this guy's letting loose and is being very honest. And it's very entertaining.
Yeah, I saw the advertised before it. And just with regard to Apple TV, I have it also. I've had it for about 3 or 4 months now, and I'm tremendously pleased with it. And I do want to watch this one. I haven't had a chance to watch, but I have it, in the memory here. Like that's going to be next. I want to see that because it looks very interesting. And I think what he does is from what I can see from the clips that I've seen is that it's, therapists are people. They're people just like we are. And I told you this before, the therapists often once a month or whatever it is on a regular basis, they'll go to see another therapist for treatment to keep their head straight because they're only human. And how can they help their clients until they get their own stuff straight? So what this shows is the human side of it, that this cat is human too. And, sometimes it's hard to keep it all
Yeah.
together.
He's also grieving. There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of reasons why he starts to,
Sure.
change his behavior.
Life.
But I read something disturbing in the New York Post. Apparently people who make their bed in the morning, the first thing they do when they wake up is make their bed. They're doing the wrong thing because apparently making your bed right away traps all this because you sweat and you shed skin when you're sleeping. It traps all that stuff, and it's a breeding ground for like bed bugs. So anybody
Yikes.
who makes their bed first thing in the morning, according to this health expert, take it with a grain of salt. It's just one person who said this, I think. But there's probably other people out there, but she's the one who's claiming this. Don't make your bed right away. Let it air out. Let it just be messy for a couple hours, and maybe wait till you get home from work. Don't make your bed right away. I don't know what you do, Joe. I'll be honest. I never make my bed. My bed's always, I go into the bed the same way I woke up,
What I do is, I have the fitted sheet that goes over the mattress and a pillowcase, and then I have this big old. I used to call them a quilt, but people say they're called a comforter. This big old thick thing. So that's all I have. I don't have any sheet in between or any BS like that. And what I do is, when I get up, I'll get up, put my clothes on, I'll go walk over to the thing, and I'll fold the comforter over so it looks right, and then make sure it's even, and that's it. I don't make a bed. I don't tuck anything in or put it in. No, so if that's making a bed, I don't know, but it's just a matter of taking the comforter, spreading it out, and flapping it on, and making sure that it looks halfway respectable. But that's as far as quote unquote making a bed that I do, bro. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't have any bed bugs. Let me knock on, I'm walking with you. I don't have any bed bugs. So.
no, that's honestly, I feel bad for anybody with bed bugs. That's got to be a nightmare. It's like just imagine knowing you're going to sleep and there's like little like weird bugs. That's creepy.
Oh, yeah,
Creepy.
yeah. Yep.
Anyway, I digress. Let's move on to our actor. Unless you have anything more to say.
No, I'm ready.
So you pick. This is usually if the audience hasn't picked up on this. Usually Joe's show where he picks the actor, he picks the lyrics, he picks the Snapple Fact, he picks the On the Real segment, the two fake stories and the one real one. We alternate shows. So today Joe usually does Friday or Saturday, and I usually do Monday or Tuesday. So today Joe chose a man called Sam Rockwell. And I don't think I'm mispronouncing his name because Sam is pretty easy to say and Rockwell seems straightforward, but hopefully I'm not wrong.
Not wrong.
He's a good actor. He's been all over the place. He was born on November 5th, 1968. So he's right around your time period, Joe.
My brother's birthday is November 5th, not 68, but yeah, awesome. That's weird. Go ahead.
He grew up in the Bronx in Manhattan. His parents are both pretty much actors. They were like in the entertainment business, and he was trained to be an actor, from a young age. He made his acting debut at the age of 10. And just I learned because I like learning a little bit about these actors, before the show. So I watched a little bit of him interviewed on Jimmy Kimmel Live, which is like my favorite late night show.
I saw that too. Yeah.
He said little things like, he said he's close with his dad. His dad's a big union guy. But then he's telling funny stories. Like he went out dancing with John Hamm and Olivia Wilde one time, and he injured his ankle dancing at a club. And he's talking about how to prepare to play a drunk in a movie. You go to a bar and you drink coffee and just watch the drunks. You observe the drunk people. And then he said one of the tricks you learned from Ray Liotta to act like you're drunk is this: to bend over for a couple of seconds and then stand up straight right as the take starts, right as the starts rolling, the camera start rolling. And you're really going to be dizzy. So you're going to appear drunk. So these little things. And he was also just in a Broadway play with Lawrence Fishburne, who we did a couple shows ago, I think a couple months ago. But, and then when he was younger, he learned a lot about hustling and would later help him out in auditioning. He went to a school for bad students, apparently. It's called Urban Pioneers. And they had a thing where you couldn't ask your parents for money for a trip. So they're like, how do we get money? So they had to go around soliciting money from people and figure out ways how to pay for their trip.
Yeah.
But he's a great actor. He's been in a lot of stuff. There's something on YouTube called 10 Minutes of Chaos with Sam Rockwell. It's all clips from him, from his real life, from footage of him just doing funny stuff. So he seems like a real fun guy to be around, a character. Like the story I told about him going out dancing with John Hamm and Olivia Wilde, where he broke his ankle or hurt his ankle. He's always, and even in his interviews, I saw a little bit of interview with him on Seth Meyers too. He's just a very charismatic type of guy, and it carries over to his acting because he could play really different types of. He can play. When Joe, you're going to talk about your top five, and I think I have a feeling what your first or second one's going to be, but he can play some monsters too. This guy he's got range.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about what do you. I'll just say a little bit real quick what I've seen him in that I know of. He was in Richard Jewell, the guy from the Oklahoma bombings. He was in Vice. I think he played George Bush. The movie it was about Dick Cheney, but he would play George Bush. Seven Psychopaths. I believe, Joe, you watched that recently. You'll talk about it. Iron Man 2, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Matchstick Men, Charlie's Angels, Galaxy Quest, The Green Mile, Wink Wink. We're going to talk about that. Box of Moonlight, which, Joe, you told me. I never knew that movie existed until you told me about it.
Yeah.
He also, I think his first real movie role is in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Then he's in another movie called Laggies with Keira Knightley. And my friend told me to check that out. I started watching it. It's on HBO. I started watching it. It's pretty entertaining. It's a pretty good movie.
I just want to say something like Keira Knightley. That's a beautiful woman. She is just.
I don't want.
She really is. I'm not going off on it. I'm just trying to tell you something. Her face is beautiful.
Well, let's just say this, Joe. I already started preparing episode 27, which will be Monday or Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And let's just say she might be our actress of the week. And this is one of the reasons why I started watching Laggies, is because Keira Knightley and Sam Rockwell's in it. And we're doing Sam Rockwell today, and we're possibly doing Keira Knightley on Monday or Tuesday. But it's funny how you said that. She really is an attractive woman. I agree with that.
She's just one of those women like Alicia Keys where it's hard to look away from her. She's just so beautiful. Yeah. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
She's skinny, but she's not too. We're going to talk about her Monday or Tuesday, but she's all she's a great actress, and I digress. But anyway, Joe, what's your top five? What do you have to say about Rockwell?
I noticed him just from this movie or that movie, and I thought to myself, this dude's pretty funny, and he's a pretty good actor here, and I just never knew his name, and then all of a sudden I tried to pay attention to who he was. Sam Rockwell. I got to get this cat's name down, and I remembered his name because Norman Rockwell, the artist, said, okay, he's easy to remember, and since we're doing this thing here, I thought to myself, he's one of these cats that fits this mold. That if you walk up to someone on the street, most people, and say, do you like Sam Rockwell? They say, who's that? And you show them a picture. Oh, I know that. So it kind of fits our mold. Here's my top five quickly. Number five is, and this is going back like this, I think it's 2001. So we're going back 20 years, but it's a movie called Snow Angels. He plays it's a dark movie, and it's been a while ago, but he plays a real dark character, but you could feel the emotion. You could feel the sorrow and the anguish coming through him. It's a tough movie to watch. It's a dark movie, but Snow Angels from 2001. Number four, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Plays that with some other, I think Woody Harrelson's in the movie. The woman that's in the movie, what's her name? McFarland or something like I forget her name. Mick.
You're talking about Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri?
Yeah, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
I think you're thinking of
Frances McDormand, maybe is her name. I don't know.
Frances McDormand, exactly. You're
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
okay.
right.
Well, he plays this real redneck, just sort of redneck, hard ass cop, small town cop. He plays the role very well. And like I said, with this guy, he plays a lot of roles of characters that aren't really nice people per se, but he plays them well. He makes you what?
I just want to interrupt real quick. He has the ability to make you not like him and make you really despise him.
And that's what a good actor will do.
Movie, you're like, this guy's a scumbag. He's got that ability.
Right. That's what a good actor will do. Now, the actor himself, obviously, he's a tremendous guy. He's a nice guy. But when you look at it and say, oh, that son of a bitch, I can't stand. Well, that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to make it. So Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. Then there's the next one on my list is a movie that I don't understand why it never became a cult favorite. It's a movie he did with John Turturro, and I love Turturro, but he did a movie with John Turturro, and it's called A Box of Moonlight. Yeah, A Box of Moonlight. And he plays this character, John Turturro, and I'll do this quickly. Turturro is a businessman. He's going on a business trip, and he's out in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. He has car problems. He's going to need a part that's going to take the whole weekend to get the part and so forth and so on. And he's looking for shelter, and he's just looking for a place to stay. And he runs into Sam Rockwell's character, who's a local, and he's a nice enough guy, but he's somewhat eccentric. And it was just like, he's got the raccoon skin cap on, and that's a lighter side of Rockwell, but he plays that well too. He plays that well too.
You're talking about the Three Billboards movie, right?
No, I'm talking about Box of Moonlight.
Box of Moonlight. I want to talk about Three Billboards real quick. I didn't say he won Best Supporting Actor for that movie. I didn't realize that. He won Best Supporting Actor for Three Billboards. But I also want to correct myself really quick because I thought he just grew up in the Manhattan and Bronx because I looked at IMDb. That's what they said. I guess I read it too quickly because then I'm checking other sources here. His parents were divorced when he was like 5, and then he was raised in San Francisco, but he spent the summers with his mother in New York. But then he got his acting in New York in the East Village Improv. Just wanted to correct myself there, but
keep going.
Box of Moonlight. Yeah, if you were to Box of Moonlight, he played a nicer character in that. He didn't play a scumbag, right?
Right. He played like a local, and he was pretty funny. Okay, so let me just riff this again. 5 was Snow Angels. 4 was Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. 3 is A Box of Moonlight. Check it out, folks. Just give it a shot. It's different, but it's decent. Now we get down to the nitty gritty, and these could have flip flopped. But number 2 was a movie with your boy Colin, whatever.
Farrell.
Yeah, he plays in this movie with him. It's called Seven Psychopaths, and it's really different. It's a different kind of movie. There are parts of it that you're going to look at and go, oh, my God, and other parts where you're going to laugh your ass off, and it's just very, very well done. His part is not easy to play, but, again, he teed it up, and he played it really well. A good movie. And finally.
What do you think? Let me just ask you real quick, because we did Colin Farrell. What do you think about Farrell in it?
I thought Farrell played himself. That's the thing that I came away from it. I thought Farrell in this movie, Farrell just kind of played himself, didn't he? I mean, it was just a guy writing a movie. And drinking a lot. I mean, you know what I mean? So I mean, he didn't have to.
That movie's got a hell of a cast, man. Because Woody Harrelson's also in it, and so is Christopher Walken. Like that movie was full of.
Christopher Walken was in it too. Yeah, I like Christopher Walken.
Right, so you got that. That's it. I'm surprised. So that made that made number 3 or number 2.
That was 2. That was
number
2.
1. Let me just drum roll. Green something. Is that
Green Mile? Yes, sir. Green Mile, and he played Wild Bill something, or I don't know what it was, but he played an absolutely abhorrent character in that movie, one that you would like to strangle. And he really, but again, he's an actor and he played the role, but he played it really, it was not an easy role to play.
You remember the scene where he's in his cell and he starts peeing through the cage or the bars of the cell on the warden, and then the warden's like, what the hell's going on? And then he says, he's really like instigating with these guards. He says, he's like, you just peed on me or whatever. And he's like, I'm currently cooking up some turds to go with it. Something like that. And then he was dragged into solitary, and then he's like, all I wanted was some cornbread. You know what I mean? So
yeah, he was just that's something that's unforgettable, really. So yeah, good actor. He is. I mean, I haven't seen, just because I like an actor doesn't mean I've seen everything that he's done. I haven't. I mean, I'm told that he did. There's one that he did that he showed such range. He was almost like two different people. Can't remember the name of the movie right now, but he's regarded as having a lot of range. He certainly has the longevity, and there's something about him. There's something about him. When I watched Seven Psychopaths, I remember when I watched that, when the opening scene, when he's coming to the door and you can see his face like through a glass door. And as soon as I saw him, I just started laughing because he just like had that funny grin on his face. It's just one of those things that I like Sam. I think he's a hell of an actor. And he's also a dude I like to maybe go out and have a couple beers with, So that's that.
Well, Sam, if you're listening, Joe Thurman wants to have a beverage with you, sir.
Let's go out and get some Budweisers, brother. All right.
All right. So but Sam Rockwell, good choice, Joe. He's let's just say I consider him an underrated actor. That's a good word for it, I think.
Well, and that's the whole thing. Thank you, because that's the whole thing that we're doing. And once in a while, we have to, we have to do our Denzels and our Pacinos and this and that. But in between, we'd like to do those unsung guys. So.
Yep, absolutely. And just for anybody out there, if you go on YouTube and just type in Sam Rockwell, like late night show or interview, watch this guy being interviewed on late night shows. He's very entertaining, and he's a lot more entertaining than a lot of guests. And the thing with him, I think a lot of these guests, probably their agents and probably like people in Hollywood, probably instruct them how to be more charismatic. Like, oh, you want the audience to really like you, off screen and get to know you. So they give them all this advice, and they have to be taught and trained how to act on these late night shows. I don't think Sam Rockwell is being directed. I think he's just being himself. I believe that out there.
No, I believe that. He seems that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I heard you chose a Snapple Fact this week, Joe. What exactly is a Snapple Fact?
Snapple Fact this week is, octopuses think with their tentacles. And I say octopuses as plural as opposed to octopi, because I looked it up. I thought, isn't that octopi supposed to be the plural? This is just but it's octopuses because the word is of Greek origin and not Latin. If it's from Greek origin, the ES will suffice for the plural. If it's of Latin origin, that's where you get into the I, as in like alumnus, alumni, that kind of a thing. So, but this wouldn't apply. This is Greek origin, so the ES is good for the plural. Octopus, just for those who are thinking like what, because there are folks that think octopuses think with their tentacles. I found that tremendously interesting, because you would think the octopus, you could see a head, you could see, eyes, you could see where you would think the central processing unit would be up in it's in their tentacles. And I thought that was interesting. And also, it's fact number 1519. I also saw a show recently, Sean. And it's like a funny show. It's a serious / funny show. And it was on, and it was, I can't remember the name of the doggone show. Alien, maybe, or something alien. Anyway.
Ancient Aliens?
What is it?
Ancient Aliens on History Channel?
No, this is like a comedy show or something like that. Anyway, this guy was talking with mental telepathy. He's talking into a fish tank where there's an octopus, and he's talking with him, and
oh, is that I know what you're talking about.
Help me.
Show on Amazon? Is that the show? It's like a real show on Amazon, but it's supposed to be. It's called The Boys, right? Is that you're talking about the Boys?
No, The Boys.
There's a character on the show called The Boys, which is a great show, and he has the ability to communicate with fish.
No, this is trying to think.
Anyway, let's talk a little bit quicker while you're thinking though. Mm-hmm. So octopuses do think with their brains too, but the majority of neurons are in the brain, but over 2/3 of the neurons. Oh, so 2/3 of neurons are located within the arms and the body.
Mm-hmm.
So they're such a complicated. They have eight arms. There's a lot. The brain with human beings and animals, the brain only has to control a couple limbs. Like we have, we got the 2 arms, we got the 2 legs, that type of thing. Where octopuses, they have 8 of them, and there's 200 suckers on their tentacles. They can feel, taste, and smell the surroundings, and everything's movable. So there's such a strangely built nervous system. So scientists have always thought for a while that they act autonomously from the central brain. They think their arms are operating separate from their actual brain. So it's pretty interesting. Some scientists think they're an alien creature. They think of them as 9 brain creatures, 1 central brain and 8 smaller brains in each arm. So it's interesting, it's a good Snapple fact for sure. People say they're capable of otherworldly things. They can solve puzzles. They can change their shape and color, and they can even edit their own genes. So octopuses are pretty kind of scary, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
but Joe, have you ever eaten an octopus at a restaurant or anything?
No, sir. As you know, I'm not a seafood dude at all, brah. And you would not get a fork near my face with any of that stuff on it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just it's pretty interesting that their octopus arms, they kind of operate independently of their central brain. So, they could be. I'm interested to hear more studies about octopuses and just see what else they could find out, because it's very interesting. The fact that they could potentially have 9 brains. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm going to try to remember the name of the show, and whatever it is, because it's actually a cool show. Season 1 has already gone by. I'm waiting for season 2 to start, but it's a neat show where he lands in a small Seattle town, and he takes
I think it's on Peacock.
Takes on the body of a local doctor that,
I know. It's called Resident Alien, right?
Resident Alien. That's it. That's what it is. Yes. And in that show, he's through mental telepathy, he's at a fish tank and he's talking to this octopus, and it's really neat. It's just one of those things. And the octopus makes reference to I'm speaking to you through my tentacles and so forth. You have to see it. It can't, but it's one of those things. I just found it interesting, and as interesting as we can get. Snapple fact. What are you going to do?
All right. So moving on to on the reel. On the reel, Joe, you going to stump me?
I don't think so, man. You're a tough customer. But let's just start with California. California doctor cycling on scenic roadway rammed by Lexus and stabbed to death by driver. California doctor Michael Mamone, 58, was bicycling on a scenic Pacific Coast highway when he was struck by a car. The driver, one Van Roy Evans Smith, 39, of Long Beach, then got out of the vehicle and attacked him with a knife. After stabbing him at least once, he then pulled out a gun, shooting him multiple times, killing him before he was disarmed by 2 passersby. Police say there was no known connection between the 2 men. Weird and wild stuff.
It was kind of like, it sounds like a road rage.
One guy was on a bicycle, so I don't know. The next story is interesting. Amtrak and Union Pacific Railroad are planning a project. Okay. The project is they are going to build a railway. They have plans for building a railway in the United States. It's a high-speed railway. The luxury railway models several of its type already in full functionality in European countries. Using magnetic repulsion technology, the state-of-the-art train will reach speeds of up to 285 miles an hour. It is going to run from New York to LA and is projected to be ready to serve the public by 2031. A trip from coast to coast is expected to take approximately 9 hours and cost around $800 per person. Wow. And I do know that in Europe they have these railways that are quiet, efficient. They'll just glide through the countryside at 250, 275 miles an hour. Really? So anyway, that's that. That's the second one. Next one is called Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? In a restaurant right, in a rest area. You know how you get these rest areas on the side of the road, and you go in and there's a couple of 3 restaurants like an Arby's or, Roy Rogers or something. When you're hungry and you're out on the road. Okay, so in a restaurant, in a rest area just outside of Lincoln, Nebraska, Jeffrey Skinner, 46, of Denver, was enjoying his hamburger and fries when he noticed something very startling. Across the room, in the same dining area, he noticed a man who looked, quote unquote, like a mirror image of myself, he said. So he noticed the other fella seemed just as perplexed as he did. Finally, Jeff approached this other man, Mr. Thomas Harkey of St. Louis, Missouri, and both men were momentarily astonished at the resemblance. After some small talk, they began to ask each other many of the expected questions regarding background information and so forth and so on. Those questions revealed some earth-shaking information. The 2 men were each adopted shortly after they were born. Neither men knew who their birth parents were. The 2 men were able to uncover some amazing information from their respective adopted parents. So these guys start asking each other questions and say, wait a minute, you were adopted? I was adopted. You don't know your real parent? I don't either. And they were able to make a couple of phone calls to the respective adopted parents. Okay. So they stayed in touch and they did some DNA tests, revealed they were twins and they were separated at birth. Their biological mother, Allison Lemanowitz, passed away in 2019. But her sister, i.e. their aunt, told the men she always regretted giving them up, but felt it was in their best interest as she was extremely unfit at that time to provide for them. The kicker, the hospital where they were born, 1/4 mile away from the aforementioned rest stop. Well, weird and wild stuff. That one gives me goosebumps.
All right. So remember, there's 2 fake and 1 real in the On the Real segment. So you give so much detail. It's tough because I'm thinking like if he's given a little bit. Okay. So the first one, the names seem a little bit crazy. Like what was the one guy's name? Vander. What the hell was
I'm not repeating anything. You either absorbed it or you didn't. I need an answer. Let's go. No, I'm just kidding. No. Sure. No, I'll read it back to you, that part.
Well, don't read the whole thing. Just tell me one guy's names.
I'm
not looking at anything up, I promise. Okay.
And it says,
I'm trying to think of the level you went with the fake name.
When he was struck by a car, the driver, one Van Roy Evans Smith, 39, of Long Beach.
Okay, Van Roy Evans Smith. Okay, yeah, that's what got me thinking. Van Roy Evans Smith. But here's the thing. I've heard many stories about a train that they're building out. Like they're building one in California, a high-speed train. And I think I heard stories about them building one from New York to Cali. So I'm not answering you yet. I think that one's the real one. I think the third one I've heard, that's another one. I've heard tons of stories about people just, long lost like siblings and stuff. You got me a little nervous in the beginning because I just read a story about a woman who found a woman, a doppelganger, a woman who people call people doppelgangers if they look just like you. She found her doppelganger and she sought her out and killed her to fake her own death to collect money or something like that. So you got me like thinking on that track. But okay, so the guys in the restaurant, the whole thing with the story, you gave so many details. You gave so many details of the first one too. The second one, I'm going with the second one real. The train one's real.
Okay, the train one would be fake.
Wow.
And the "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" is fake. And the true story is...
Wow, interesting.
The true story is California doctor cycling on scenic roadway, rammed by a Lexus. Then the driver of the Lexus stabbed him and then shot him multiple times before he was disarmed. And police say there was no connection between the men. Hand of God. I made up the other two. Just took me a couple minutes to sit and think something up.
The train one's so interesting because I think like you might not even know this, but they've been talking about doing a high-speed train for a while, like a bullet train. So
Yeah.
that, to me, that all me read that registered immediately. Like, well, I know that one's like basically true, but I don't know if they're doing it from near. Like, I know they're building one in California. So I was just going through. I don't know. You did a good job with the third one had a ton of details. That was fake. The second one was the real one. Or no, the first one was the real one. The first one was the real one. So,
Hmm.
okay, man, good job. Yeah, you give a lot of details. It's good stuff.
Thanks, sir. It's good. Yeah,
You got me. You stumped me, Jude.
well, you're
You
not
stumped
hard.
me.
You're difficult to stump. So that's something because you're on it usually. And I know you got some good. I almost got to get out in front of you like chess and think. I wonder what he's going to think here or there. It's kind of fun.
You
Yeah.
heard my thought process, so now I got to start changing it up, or maybe not getting all my thought process here.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
All
fun.
right, so moving on. So the real story was a crazy killer. Now we're going to move on to another crazy killer. Bryan Kohberger update. I don't have a lot this time, but just a little. Apparently, he was frequenting the Idaho Student Union building before the murders, and he was staring at a lot of girls and making them uncomfortable. He wasn't breaking eye contact when they made eye contact. He wasn't smiling. He was just staring at them like with a dark, like, really
Oh,
weird look.
we've all seen that stare. Yeah.
Um, so some girl named Chelsea said she saw him early in the semester sitting in the cafeteria alone drinking water, and he just stared and wouldn't break eye contact. So that's the Kohberger update, because that case is not coming until like June or July or something. So it's going to be little things here and there I'll learn about. As far as Alex Murdaugh, I talked about this a little bit. He stole money from a housekeeper after her death. He tried to hide it, but then he settled with the family for $4.3 million. So he did pay their family, but the settlement wasn't like public. It wasn't like a public thing. And he owed a lot of people money. So they're all wondering where he got that 4.3 million from. Cause he had collected all the money from her death, and he withheld it from the family. The family had to like sue him to the point where they had to settle. But then the case is going on, and apparently the ballistics expert testified saying that older shell casings from the murder weapon, was found on the property. They were ejected from the same rifle that had the shell casings found around Maggie Murdaugh's body, his wife. They seized nearly 30 guns. They tested the guns, but they said they didn't find Paul, the one of the murdered son, Paul. They didn't find his rifle. But his friend said he saw Paul's gun as recently as late March 2021. So that's something to think about. So those are a couple updates from the Alex Murdaugh case and the Kohberger case. As far as current events go, I read an article, a really long article in the New York Times a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I don't remember, but it's called Student Athlete Mogul ? College players are allowed to cut sponsorship deals, and a lot of them are making a lot of money, but it's at the cost of the school, of the other sports. So they use North Carolina in this article. So basically there's something called name, image, and likeness. It's NIL, and college athletes are allowed to be paid money directly from sponsors, from donors. So basically this started, everyone been talking about this for years, like when are the athletes going to be paid? But Ed O'Bannon is a former power forward from UCLA for basketball, UCLA basketball team.
Remember him, yeah.
He sued the NCAA and EA Sports because he felt he was entitled to income from a video game that included his likeness. So your likeness is something that basically is you, but they're not using your name. It's basically saying everyone knows it was Ed O'Bannon in the video game. So he was like, I'm going to sue these people. I want some money for this. He said the NCAA rules prohibited student athletes' compensation as a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. And the district judge agreed. And then this year, the NCAA on July 1st, 2021, Supreme Court decision ended the nearly all restrictions on what athletes could earn. And they can now use their name, image, and likeness, NIL. And some of these athletes are making big money. Like this guy from North Carolina, Armando Bacot, his annual income is projected to be around $400,000. So this college basketball player is making about $400,000 a year. And there's other athletes who are making even more than that. But one of the big problems that's happening is a lot of these big donors, they couldn't pay the athletes in the past. So they used to basically just donate money to the school. And then the school would disperse the money. It would be subsidized. it would, subsidize other sports and help them survive. But now all the money is directly going to these athletes. They're creating all these like little like investment funds that's going directly to the players. They're paying them directly. And a lot of sports are like figuring out how they're going to survive. A lot of D1 sports at these big schools, they can't pay to support those schools anymore, to support those sports. So they might have to go D3. So you might see some UNC sports going like D2 or D3 because they can't afford to be D1 anymore. But it's, just to give you an example, Bacot, his income is nearly double the entire budget of the swim team at North Carolina. So a lot of money is being siphoned away from the athletic department. And, I'm happy that the players are being paid, but it's really a slippery slope. It's like, I'm kind of scared for the other sports. Like, is it going to, like, these athletes might be getting paid a lot of money, but at what expense to the other sports? 500, just to give you an example, 520,000 students are currently competing in intercollegiate sports, but only about 519,000 are making, 519,000, they're making nothing at all. So only 1,000 are making money. So think about that. So they have all this NIL, but it's basically going to the main sports, like, college football, big money making sport, SEC especially, Alabama and Auburn and Clemson play. That's the big money making conference. But only 1,000 students in the whole country are really like making any sort of money, which is, when you think about that, it's a little bit crazy. So college basketball and college football are getting a lot of the money. And, but one thing that they're doing, they're not allowing they're not allowing the athletes to advertise and promote cannabis products, alcohol, casinos, and adult entertainment. But a lot of these athletes are driving around in like $100,000 cars. They're living pretty big for college students, but it's been a long time in the making. Because it's also a good thing in the sense that some college athletes who are borderline like NBA players, for example, they might not jump to the NBA and not, complete their degree, or there might, in the past, they've been jumping to the NBA and not completing their degree. Now they're going to be staying in college because they're going to be able to make money. So they're going to be able to kill two birds with one stone. They're going to be able to get paid plus get their college degree. So there's a lot of good to it. It's interesting how it's going to evolve. It's going to evolve in a very interesting way because, it's kind of a slippery slope. I'm just wondering what your opinion on this is, Joe.
I don't have much of one other than I can tell you that I don't have a problem with athletes being paid a little more in their sport if their sport is a little more popular. Like a starting fullback for Ohio State football team should make more than the wingman on the rowing team on some,
the thing. But what if the rowing team doesn't exist in a couple of years because all the money from the donors that used to go to the athletic department is now being paid directly to the athletes, and it's hurting the other sports. Like that's a little bit, that can be bad.
Yeah, there has to be some oversight, no problem. And what I would like to see, though, is a minimum. I don't need to see football players from, Miami or Ohio State or Notre Dame, wherever it is. I don't need to see them rolling around big bucks. What I need to see is them making a little more than the other guys if their sport's a little more popular. But what I would like to see is a minimum so that kids can eat. Kids can eat. They don't have to try to juggle like 2 part-time jobs and schoolwork because that's brutal. So I'd like to see a minimum for students so that, you know what I mean? That I would really like to see. And I also would like to see not a sort of a cap. I don't want kids to be getting rich now. They're in college, and besides, I just want to see some fairness. I don't mind a disparity in how much they make based on the popularity of the sport. You understand? But I like to see a limit on the ceiling. I like to see a limit on the floor too, if you know what I mean. Other than that, I'm okay.
Yeah. And one of the problems is some of these athletes are jumping from school to school. Like they're being recruited by how much money they're being offered. Like, so they might really like their school, but then they hear like, such and such school is going to pay them double what they're making at their school. So all of a sudden they're just going to leave because for transferring now, at least for college basketball, you used to have to sit out a year when you transfer. There's a little penalty. Now you can just jump from school to school. Now that they're being paid, they could just jump to whatever donors offering them the biggest money. You know what I mean? A lot of recruits are backing out of their recruitments because they're getting bigger offers. But one of the things that could fix this is if there's guidelines like a bonding contracts that an athlete could sign with the school, if they leave before the end of their contract and eligibility, to become another school or to become a pro, they should be forced to return a percentage of the money they've been paid. So I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, a little reimbursement if I'm not going to use it, or that's fine. That's fine. A little common sense and a little fairness, I think is good.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting topic, and hopefully college sports thrives and survives. But I can see I can see for the next 5 years story after story about people complaining and other athletes coming out and saying like, oh, I went to this school to play D1. Now we're D3. I have to transfer. I don't want to transfer, but I have to transfer because they don't have the D1 program that I want here, because they had to get rid of it because there's not enough money for us. So, it's a slippery slope, but I've always been an advocate of college athletes being paid, but it's a matter of how to, like you said, how to cap some things and how to manage the money better.
Yeah.
Because now donors know they don't all their money was going to the athletic department. Now they know they're creating. I'll give you an example. Villanova has a fund called Nova Friends, and the Nova Friends fund is just rich donors who just compile, a lot of money, and that money goes directly to various players. But in the past, that money probably was going to the Villanova athletic department by donations from donors, and they'd have, they had some incentive. They had buildings named after them. They'd be announced that they donated, things like that. And then they would just disperse the money accordingly. But now all that money is going directly to the best players. So like I said, there's only about 1,000 athletes who are actually capitalizing on this. There's probably more than that, but 1,000 probably capitalizing it in like a pretty significant way. So I thought was, so let's move on to talking about sports now. Let's talk a little bit of sports. Tom Brady just retired for the second time in 2 years. Do you think he's going to stay retired this time, Joe?
I think this is it. I really do think this is it. I do. I look, the guy's done everything he can do. You could almost tell by his demeanor all year long that I got the feeling that he was thinking halfway through, like, oh man, why did I do this? I made a mistake. I think he's done. I do not think he's going to make a great color analyst. I just don't. You don't.
I think they gave him like $350 million already.
It's because of his name, but I don't think you don't always get these great players. Don't always make great analysts, and sometimes your best analysts are marginal players. I just think that he doesn't have that charisma. He doesn't have that. There's a lot of knowledge. He's also he's a great player, but he's just kind of, he's really just kind of cardboard, plain vanilla type, he doesn't have a whole lot of that, pizzazz that you need. Romo, on the other hand, is, he's not great. He's a little overrated himself, but at least he's got a little bit of something. You have to have that little bit of spark, that little bit of personality, that little bit. And I think he's bereft of that. If Tom Brady's bereft of anything, I think that's probably about the only thing. I gotta be honest.
I think Tom Brady's going to surprise a lot of people because this guy is a competitive beast. He is going to focus. He's going to go all in. He's not married anymore. He's going to focus on his commentating, his announcing, his analyzing the game. And I think he's going to provide a lot of content because he already has a podcast. Him and Jim Gray have their own podcast. And like, apparently I didn't really check it out, but apparently it's a decent podcast. It's been on for at least a year or 2 years, at least. So he has some practice from doing the podcast. So he's, he might be better than you think, Joe.
And you know what? That's why I said, I think this, because it just doesn't seem to me like he's got that whatever it is for that particular job. And like I said, I think, and maybe wrong. And like you said, Tom Brady's very competitive.
Did you think Troy Aikman did though? Did you think when Troy Aikman was a player, did you envision him being like one of the best commentators of all time?
No, and I don't think he's one of the best commentators of all time. He's pretty, okay. I think he's pretty good. But I don't think he's one of the best commentators of all time. I think in terms of form,
I'm not talking about like the guys who are trained their whole life to do it.
Right.
Like the Jim.
The guys Right. The
Like
players
Al
who made the
Michaels. I'm talking
transition.
about
Right.
the players.
The players
being
who have made the transition. Right.
He's been pretty good with Joe Buck. They've been pretty popular. They're
Yeah.
on Monday Night Football, so obviously a
Well,
lot of people like him.
right. Well, you said, but one of the best of all time. I don't think he's one of the best of all
Well,
time, but
all time
he's good.
in terms of players, not
Yeah.
just not comparing them to like
I hear
those
you.
guys.
I hear you loud and clear. I just don't. I don't know. I just think he's a little too vanilla, a little too stiff, a little too dry. I just don't. Now, I could be wrong.
Troy Aikman or Brady?
Brady.
Oh, because I was talking about. I thought you were giving me reasons why Aikman's not that good or something.
No, I'm off of Aikman. I mean, because Troy's done. He's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Okay.
He's pretty good. Yeah, he's pretty good. I like him. I hated him as a player, but I like him as an analyst. But go ahead.
One thing I respected about Brady's announcement is he even said it. He's like, I already used up my long goodbye, my long written goodbye and heartfelt message. I did that last year. So this year I basically woke up this morning and I'm pressing record on my phone and I'm recording my retirement. And he kept it simple.
That I liked.
That I respect that about him. He didn't do another swan song and farewell tour.
Brett Favre. Brett Favre did 2 or 3 of those. Yeah, Brett Favre did 2 or 3 of those. Like every year, he'd come out and I'm going to retire now. Look, I'm emotional myself. I don't knock a guy for being emotional, but he did his emotional goodbye at least twice. It's like, Brett, make up your mind, cuz either get it done or not. But I like what Brady did here. He said you only get one emotional goodbye essay. I used mine up last year, so here's the deal, guys. I'm done. So I like that. That I did like about him.
Absolutely, man. So Eagles are obviously in the Super Bowl. That game is next Sunday. We got a week off from football. This is weird. We have our first week off from football since before preseason.
God, it's tough.
And it's going to be weird, but I think the next 2 shows before the Super Bowl will really dig deep into the analysis of the big game.
Yeah.
But just today, how you feel? I'm gonna get a pulse of your thoughts. How you feeling about the big game?
Big game is, look, we're going against, and all kidding aside, I kid around about Patrick. I kid around about Andy, and Andy's a head coach that learned a lot when he was here. And he matured, and he's one of the best the game has to offer. This kid, Patrick, he's got some idiosyncrasies sometimes that bug me, but he's a good guy. He's a fantastic quarterback. And these guys are going to be tough to beat. They really are going to be, they're going to be tough to beat. I think that we can beat them. I think we have a better man-to-man all the way down the line. I think we have the best roster in football. What I think we have to do is we really have to run the ball effectively, keep the ball longer, and do all those things. And I think that's the way to go. And I just hope our defense can hold up. They don't run the ball that much. That means, okay, Mahomes, throw the ball. But sometimes be careful what you wish for because you might get it. Look, they're going to be tough to beat. It's going to be interesting. I don't know how I feel about this thing. I do want to say that I respect the Kansas City Chiefs immensely. And it's like, geez, every time we get in a Super Bowl, we got to beat these legendary quarterbacks. We did it last time. Maybe we can do it again. I have to look at this thing with a fine-tooth comb, and over the next week or so, I'll have more accurate analysis. But that's where I am. I'm just nervous about it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you guys are favored by 1.5 points as of now. And, if the over-under is 50.5 points. So they're expecting kind of a high-scoring game and a close game, which could lead to a very good Super Bowl.
Good. It could.
As far as, quickly here, because, we're not going to go crazy with sports today, but all-star NBA selections were announced, and I feel like Jalen Brunson was snubbed. He is one of the best point guards in basketball this season, and for them to choose Jrue Holiday, who's a great player, but he's been around for a while, I feel like the storyline's better with Brunson. It's his first selection, whereas Holiday's made the all-star team before. I felt that was a snub. I'm happy that Julius Randle, at least we got one Nick on the roster. Julius Randle made the All-Star team, which is a good thing. I'm just kind of surprised Embiid's not a starter, Joel Embiid. But when you actually look at his competition, it's a little bit tough. He's got Giannis, he's got Tatum, he's got Durant. So those are like more popular players. But one really player that stood out, a couple of players that stood out to me was first time selections, I believe, is Jaren Jackson Jr. and Lauri Markkanen. Now Markkanen's having a resurgent, a kind of reviving his career. He's a top 10 lottery pick, and he didn't really pan out with the Bulls, but he's in the Jazz this year, and he's playing well. He's playing well, and I'm proud of him, I guess, for making the All-Star team. And Jaren Jackson Jr., is a guy everyone had loads of potential, but he finally broke through this year and he made the All-Star team. So that's good. But one thing I saw today, Kyrie Irving requested a trade from the Nets. Joe, did you hear about this?
I did. It's just this guy, man. This guy is just too much. I had the first thought I had was nobody's going to want, dude, with his history, the dude is off his rocker. I mean, with his history of, you know what, man, I don't feel like playing today, man. I ain't going down there. Matter of fact, I need about 4 days off. This blase, I'm going to do what I want, this kind of thing. I thought, who in the hell is going to trade? But then, about 5 minutes later, I thought, I wonder if the Sixers ought to mess around and try to get him. So it's just this kind of a duel, it's just one of these things. You get these guys that just with this talent that's off the chart, but then they're hard to deal with, extremely hard to deal with. It's just that dichotomy. Sometimes it's weird. But can you imagine him in a Sixers uniform? Yeah.
Would you rather, would he be, he's a talented player, but would you rather have him or Ben Simmons when you think about it?
Excuse me?
Like the Sixers had Ben Simmons for a long time, and obviously he's hated there. But would you rather, after having Ben, rather have? Because they're both kind of head cases. Would you rather have Kyrie?
I'd rather have Kyrie because Kyrie is by far, but Ben Simmons, the word potential is parenthesized, potential. With Kyrie, this dude is lights out when he's playing. There's no. I mean, this dude he's a killer. There's no potential. The word potential follows Ben Simmons around. There's nothing that Kyrie can't do. So there's there's no hesitation on my part there if you ask me to choose between those two, because they both have their problems, personality wise. But when one of them's on, he's all world. And the other one's on, he's got a lot of potential. So
yeah. All right. So as far as my bad gambling beat, I was watching Villanova Marquette. I got a little excited. I thought we were going to win the game. I thought the odds were good. So I made, a bet on Villanova money line larger than I would like usually to make, but I was feeling pretty confident about it. And we lost to Marquette. We blew the lead. Didn't finish the game, but we have Justin Moore back. We've been playing. One thing about Villanova, I'll say, nobody really knows how good we are. A record, we're like 10-12, right? Everyone thinks we suck. We don't suck because we've competed in a lot of like games. We never really got blown out. We played some pretty good teams this year because the Big East has a couple good ranked teams. So, we get into that Big East tournament. There's a chance we can win the Big East tournament if we get hot. And Justin Moore on the floor and Cam Whitmore out there. And one thing I'll say, if Coach Neptune happens to know anybody listening to this show, I don't think he's listening, but it'd be cool if he did, but I doubt it. He's got to focus on the team. But one thing I'll say is please play Brendan Howson more. The guy's shooting 45% from three. I know he's a liability on defense, but please play Brendan Howson more. Because the other day, I scratched my head at some of Coach Neptune's decisions this season. Brendan Howson had 12 points and hadn't missed a shot the whole game. But for the last 5 minutes, he didn't put him in until the very end when he had to get threes when we were down by a bunch of points. But I digress. I'm off on a tangent, as Joe Thurman would say. We had a wonderful show, Joe. A lot of cool topics. Appreciate you being my co-host, brother. And the floor is yours.
And still I rise. Still I rise. Good night.
Take care, everyone.